But I pray that you will grace and mercy. That as we continue to learn from you, that Lord, we will understand Jesus' mighty name. Lord, we pray. Amen. I have to greet each and every one of us here today. The mighty name of our Lord Jesus Christ. We pray that the Lord will grace and mercy as we continue. As we come to the fellowship. Okay, let's see. What I want us to look at today. The problem we have. You see this slide that I have of the very interesting thing is that recently somehow engaged in some Bible studies, but in this way it was another way because I actually did the Bible study that we did. And girls who just challenging me on certain areas and some of the concepts that we talked about. And one of those was the names of God, the importance of the names of God. Why they are very important with what they stand for. And so I decided that it was interesting that as we look into the names of God and how do we understand those names. So you can see what I have for on the slides for you. It's not the slide, but it's the talk. So I want you to look at what we have right there. Hopefully, it will show it. All right. So what we are looking at, the title I want us to look at is the names of God. That means we are unveiling the divine nature through the names of God. That means we are going to be looking at what God wants us to look at as we work towards knowing what names mean. So we are going to be looking at the importance of those names as labels. And so the names that we have, for example, at our family, we had so now what I was saying is that I remember growing up. So in our family we had one man, one of my aunt, my cousin. His name was sorry. because that was his name. His name was Olo. That means he was a troublemaker. So names are very important. So when we talk about the names, we talk about the labels, they're not just labels. They are windows into the divine nature.
Your audio, not these lyrics, one of these.
Hello?
Can you hear?
Hello? Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. See the audio. So what I was talking about was telling you was about my cousin. My cousin. I talked about my cousin whose name was India. That means a warlord. So he would defy everybody, and people would believe that he was following his name. So what we are looking at today are the names of God, which are a window towards his divine nature. So we are looking at that, and we'll be looking at some of the names for today. We'll just be looking at one quickly. And also I'd like us to also reveal the different aspects of God's character and the relationship that he has with humanity. Now, in many cultures, we know that name is already explained in my culture. There's one that was India, and he was just a warlord. That means warlord, India, the warlord. That means he was fighting people. That was my father. So this is very much important, especially on the biblical text, that the names, they encapsulate the person's identity, they encapsulate your destiny and your characteristics. So when it comes to the names of God, this is significant in a way that it magnifies God's nature more exponential. Now, from our scripture to what we are going to do today, we are going to encounter various names and titles of God, each offering a unique perspective on the divine, from the mysterious Yahweh to the intimate Father, from the majestic El Elyon to the powerful El Shaddai. Each name paints a part of the larger picture of who God is. So we'll be looking at those. So today we are going to be exploring some of these names, delving into their meanings, origins, and also we'll be looking at their theological implications. We'll consider how these names emerge in a predominantly polytheistic ancient world and how they contribute to the development of the monotheism and also into our modern day Christian practice. So as we study, I encourage you to reflect on these few questions. How do these different names of God enhance or challenge our current understanding of divine? Number two, in what ways might these names be relevant to our modern context and personal faith journeys? And number three, things that I want you to reflect on. How does understanding the historical and cultural context of these names deepen our faith significantly? Now, there are verses that I want us to look at first. And some of these verses, as we talk, I want you to remember put in mind on these questions that I want you to remember as we continue in our study. How do these different names God enhance or challenge our current understanding of divinity? So as we look at those, we'll be able to at least mirror them to how they help us to understand or deepen our faith. So Genesis or Exodus chapter 3, verse 14 and 15. The revelation of Yahweh here to Moses. Now you see at this part here, God says to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, say this to the people of Israel. I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, say this to the people of Israel, the Lord, the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and thus I am to be remembered throughout all generations. And when you look at also Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4, the Shema emphasizing one God, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is the Lord is one. And Psalms 83, verse 18, Yahweh as the Most High, that they may know that you alone, whose name is the Lord, are the Most High over all the earth. And also Isaiah chapter 44, 42, verse 8, Yahweh's uniqueness, I am the Lord, that is my name. My glory I give to no other, nor my praise to carved idols. So those are the verses that we're going to be looking at, the text that we're going to be looking at as we continue in finding out more about the nature of God. We have also Jeremiah 33, verse 2, Yahweh as a creator and establisher. Thus says the Lord who made the earth, the Lord who formed it to establish it, the Lord is his name. And John chapter 8, verse 58, Jesus says, I am statements for Christians' context. Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. So now when we look at all this, we are bringing ourselves into an understanding of and reflecting on how do these God's names that are given to him impact or challenge our faith, and how do these names and understanding of these names enhance and deepen our walk with him. So I want us to start with the name Yahweh, which also is a personal name for God, which translates I am who I am. Now, in our exploration of God's name, we come to perhaps the most significant and mysterious Yahweh. This name is central to Jewish and Christian understanding of God. Yet it's surrounded by reverence, controversy, and deep theological implications. So let's look at what this name is. So Yahweh written in Hebrew, as you see those symbols, is known as the tetragrammaton, which means 4 letters. Its exactly pronounced has been lost to, its exact pronunciation has been lost to time, and ancient Jewish tradition forbids speaking it aloud out of reverence. And today it's often rendered as Yahweh or Jehovah, who is educated text. So now when we look at this, Yahweh, this is a name, personal name that God gave to Moses. This is the first time where we see God giving the name to Moses, his name. And we learn of it because of the interaction that Moses had here to ask a question, because God was sending him back to Israel, Egypt, to free the Israelites. But here the problem, because when you think about Yahweh at this time, you will remember that Egypt and some of the surrounding areas there were not monotheism, theist cultures, they were polytheist cultures. So they had many gods. And now, when Moses was talking to God, after so many years, and Moses starts talking to God, and God gives him a name, a personal name, that is Yahweh. Moses asked, what am I going to say? Who sent me? Because Moses had issues. Remember, Moses had issues in Egypt. So he ran away from Egypt because of his problems. But now God is sending him because of the, burning bush, and he's talking to God, and God tells him, my name is Yahweh. You go there and you tell them, I am who I am. If they ask you, tell them that I am who I am sent. And so that means God was telling his name to Moses. When Moses asked, whom must I say who sent me? And God says, I am who I am, which is translated to Yahweh. So the meaning of Yahweh is linked to the concept of being or existence. That means he's just saying God reveals this to Moses in Exodus chapter 3, verse 14. It's in the context of I am who I am. So when you look at that, it suggests that he is in existence. In other words, he exists. In other words, there's no time where he never existed. So he tells Moses, my name is I am existing. So which means he exists from time immemorial into the future and into the past. He is Yahweh. So now when you look at the context on which this name is so when you look at the context of it, it reveals where which reveals God himself to Moses, and it reveals that he's a God who of action. It's not God who is just standing there waiting for somebody to move or to serve, but he moves. In other words, in our situation, when he says to Moses, my name is I am who I am. I am is Yahweh. In other words, I am a God who exists, a God who lives. And because of that, I can intervene in your affairs. That's why I'm sending you to Egypt to create my own people. So now you see that it says the God of action is the God in the history of on behalf of his people. And God is intervening, sending Moses here. So you find that the name Yahweh comes profound theology with a profound theology. In other words, it's very much heavy. It emphasizes God's self-existence. God does not need anybody else for him to exist. He does not need any other stuff to exist. He isn't created, or he does not depend on anything else except himself, his self-existence. So it also implies God's active presence in the world and in human affairs. To contrast sharply with some ancient Near Eastern concept of distant or impersonal God. Remember, the other surrounding nations or cultures around Israel, especially Egypt, there were gods who were very much distant, who were not part of their people. But this one is very much involved in their affairs, in their affairs. So he's active, and he's not a distant God, but he is a personal God. That's why when he says, I am who I am, I'm existing, self-existing, and not dependent on anything, tell them that the God who intervenes, the God who is ready to act on their behalf, is sending. So we see all this as we continue. I think we're going to end here. But as we continue, I want you to look at as Yahweh as a personal name, which is very much original in ancient world. While other cultures named their God, the idea of one supreme God with a personal name contributed significantly to the development of monotheist system. So when we look at this, next week we'll look at the cultural and also the impact on this God who has a name, this God who is personal, and how does he comes in, who's self-existent, how does he interact with his culture, with people, and how does he impact our understanding with him. So because of time, we're going to stop here. We're going to be looking at the cultural impact next week, and we'll discuss it more further. But what is important is to understand that the name Yahweh, God says, I'm all sufficient. I'm just, there's no other thing that makes me God but me. So there's no other person who makes me God but me. So when we know, as we walk on our Christian journey, it is very much important to understand that we have a God who is self-existent, God who does not need any other stuff to be God. And also he's a God who is present in every area of our life. So he's not impersonal, he's not distant, but he's ever present in our world. So when God sends Israel in Moses, he was telling him that I am a personal God, I'm ready to interact with him. Let's pray that the Lord will grant you grace as we continue. God bless you. God to let us as a Father, in the mighty name of Jesus, Lord, we thank you for grace. We thank you for mercy. We thank you for God for bringing us to understand your personal name, that Lord, that you are a God who loves us, God who is self-existent, self-sufficient. And I pray, that as we continue that, as we interact with our fellowships, we'll understand that you exist before any other God. You exist before any other thing, and you still exist. And I pray, oh God, that you continue to impress upon us, to impact our training and our understanding as we continue with our enough people. I pray, oh God, that Father, we will have more revelation of who you are, and in a personal manner, and we understand and see you what we Jesus' name.